Well, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, and it's January 14th. And if you haven't checked, if you're here in the Lake City area or in the Midwest even, they're supposed to be getting some really bad wind up in South Dakota today. If you're here in Lake City, please note that there is a blizzard warning for this afternoon from 6 tonight until 6 tomorrow night. Which sounds like we could get a fair amount of snow. Maybe up to, I think I saw up to 9 inches, which would, if there's a lot of wind, it's supposed to be very windy here too, though I don't think as windy as it is up in the Dakotas. But at any rate, there is warning that there could be possibly very difficult travel for the next 24 hours, well, from 6 o'clock tonight till 24 hours later. So with that, there's your morning weather forecast. Devotion and weather forecast this morning. Anyway, today we are continuing through the 19th chapter of Luke's Gospel, and we have got to that point where Jesus is getting ready to enter Jerusalem. We're not going to quite get him into Jerusalem today, but we're getting him ready to get there. So we are at the beginning of the triumphant entry into Jerusalem. And today we start off on the mount. He is at the Mount of Olives, or Mount Olivet, which we probably generally in our mind we think of it as he's getting ready to get the colt and the donkey and to ride in. Generally, here in the Midwest we think, oh well, it's a few miles ride in or whatever. No, Mount Olivet, the Mount of Olives is here. Jerusalem's here. It's just across the way. You can see it, no problem. It's just adjacent. When they say it's adjacent, it's adjacent. In fact, now I think it's technically part of Jerusalem now. It is where you find the Garden of Gethsemane is on the Mount of Olivet, and the old Jewish cemetery is on that. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Okay, so we won't spill the beans on that, but the old Jewish cemetery is there, and that's quite impressive. We were on all those places when we were there last year, a year ago, a little more than a year ago now. And it really is one of the big things about when you get into the Holy Land is you realize how compacted it is. Being from the Midwest, we're used to being everything wide open and miles away, and we think of Carroll's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. Well, that wouldn't be the case over there. They wouldn't think of it that way. So, get in the car and drive for 5 hours. So if you drive 5 hours over there, you're a long ways away. You're not in Israel no more. By no means. Anyway, so we're going to tackle the 19th chapter, verses 28 to 34 today is what we're going to talk about. All right? So here we go. And remember, we just got done with that hard lesson yesterday about the returning king, the nobleman that went off and became king and came back, and that was about the second coming, remember? So, all right. Verse 28 to 34 in the 19th chapter of Luke. After he had said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. When he had come near Bethphage and Bethany, at the place called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of the disciples, saying, Go into the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find tied there a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, Why are you untying it? Just say this, The Lord needs it. So those who were sent departed and found it as he had told them. As they were untying the colt, its owner asked them, Why are you untying the colt? They said, The Lord needs it. Okay. It's an interesting story. Now, depending on where we're, what gospel we're in. Now, if we're in Mark's gospel, we're kind of led to believe that Jesus makes one and only one trip to Jerusalem, and that would be the triumphant entry and all of this, and he ends up being crucified in the resurrection and all that. But now here in John's gospel, I think he makes 3 trips to Jerusalem in John's gospel. But in Luke's gospel, remember, we know that he as a young man or as a child was, remember when he was 12, he was at the temple. Remember when he was a baby, he was presented at the temple. So we know that in Luke's gospel, we're told that his family goes to Jerusalem every year for the Passover. They go there for the festivals. So Jesus is a in Luke's gospel we believe him to be very familiar with that Jerusalem area and those villages around it. And this there would have been a village over there. There were several villages actually, I believe, that are now part of Jerusalem. But at any rate, so there's a possibility here that he knows people in the area. If he's been there a lot, maybe he's staying on Mount Olives during this time. He's there. Remember, they're retreating every night back out to Mount Olive. So they're staying somewhere out there in a small village or something, or in pitch a tent. Who knows? Out there in the garden. But at any rate, he's retreating back out there. So perhaps he knows someone. He's made pre-arrangements about getting this colt. We don't know. Or the other side of it is that this is the Spirit moving everyone and moving the owner of the colt. That when when he hears this message that the Lord needs it, he readily acquiesces and he gives up his colt for at least that time period. We don't hear about him coming back or returning it. There's no story about, man, they took the colt back. I don't know. But they went back out to that area, so they probably brought it back the next, later. Wouldn't have been hard to do. They were going back. At any rate, so we have those two options of what's going on. But the point of that isn't so much, whether it was prearranged or whether it was divine. It's that when this person who owned this colt was presented with a need by God, a need by his Lord, your Lord needs it. And that's simply all he needed to hear. And he provided the means that Jesus needed for his ministry. So what we take away from that as a life application thing, tell my wife, is when we hear that call, when we're presented with that Jesus needs the colt, he needs this thing to bear his message into whatever area he's going. Here he's bearing his message into Jerusalem, right? And beyond, from there on into the larger world. When we feel that call, we hear that call, whether it's coming from a human mouth, as it is with the disciples here, but they've been sent by the Lord, or whether we're hearing it in our wee little mind, and it's saying to us, the Lord needs it or you. What's our response? Are we going to be like that owner of that colt and say, "Go, take it away. I need to serve God. I need to be obedient to God." Or are we going to no, that's a brand new colt. It's never been ridden. Why would I let somebody else have him? So what's our response? And we need to think about that. And that's just a short and sweet one today, perhaps, but that's an interesting thing for us to ponder on. And tomorrow we're going to finish up, or not finish up, but we're going to get Jesus into Jerusalem. So, and we'll talk about all that tomorrow. So, more to come. Have a very blessed day. Be a little careful this evening. It sounds like it could get a little interesting weather-wise. And tomorrow, be careful as well. But we'll talk to you in the morning. Weather's not going to stop me from doing the devotion, folks. So we'll see you in the morning. All right. Have a very blessed day. Bye-bye.